Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Wynn also joining us in studio, rolling out the red carpet for hour number 3. So glad you could join us. So much to get to in this last hour. And as I mentioned, I teased it last segment, the WNBA has reached a CBA agreement to include salary bumps and other cash compensation increases, including annual base pay for the league's highest-paid players, $117,500 to $215,000. Plenty of other benefits where players can earn cash compensation in excess of $500,000 and more. The agreement is for 8 years, from 2020 to 2027. And somebody that does a fantastic job that has been on top of this story is Arielle Chambers. She works for the Bleacher Report, and she joins us right now on the line. Arielle, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I appreciate that. So explain to us how this came about. Have they been talking about this for the last year or two? Because we've heard, especially with the women's soccer team, about women getting paid more for what they do. Explain to us how long this has been going on for, and your thoughts on this CBA, this new deal.
I think we have a unique position where women are starting to use their voices more. We knew that the CBA was coming to an end this October, but, people have been thinking about it for the past few years, like, okay, we know we're unfairly treated. How can we compromise with the league to have every party happy and in a practical way? And I think Mecca Agumake, the president of the WNBPA, has done an outstanding job collaborating with the WNBPA and the WNBA league office to just figure out a happy medium for both parties to be happy. It's also practical with where they're at as a league. And what you see more money coming in for the players. Though there's still some unsatisfied, players, that's always going to happen. But you just see us making steps in the right direction to please everybody. And just for the salary increase alone, you see a new amount of pride. I remember a little girl yesterday messaged me and was like, now that the CBA is out there and you can have more money, that it's now she has something to play for. Now she can see basketball as her future.
Sure.
And I think that's the whole point of the CBA continuing is like, okay, we see this, we see these numbers, and we see it going upwards, and that's just really inspiring to the masses.
So let me try to play devil's advocate here, and let me start by saying this. I enjoy going to Las Vegas Aces games. We've had Bill Laimbeer on the show a bunch of times. We have Kathy Engelbert on the show, the commissioner.
And they do a good job of marketing.
Yeah, and listen, I enjoy the product. They're fun games to go to, so I'm not one of those people that is anti-WNBA. I never have been, by the way, and I like the fact that people have a choice to be able to watch these professional women in action. With that being said, Arielle, I've said this on the show before that this is a league in the 22 years I believe it's been around that has lost money every year. It is a business that has lost anywhere from $10 to $12 million a year. With that being said, I've been let go from radio stations before, not fired, let go. And the reason why I've been let go has been for financial reasons. If a radio station is not making money, no one's ever come up to me and said, hey, Brian, we're going to give you a raise. We're going to double your salary even though we're losing money every year. I guess that is my issue with this. I'm happy for the women, don't get me wrong. I want them to be happy. I think it's great. But from a financial perspective, to me anyway, Arielle, this makes absolutely no sense if this is a business that loses money every year.
From financial investment, you have to invest, right? You have to see a business model where the public can see that, hey, we see this as a quality product, we're going to invest money in it, and so we get a better product to you guys. So I think that where the league has kind of struggled in the past is saying, hey, we're losing money every year. You don't tell the public that. How can you have a sense of pride in that? If they're you have to look at how the NBA was 25 years in. They were losing money as well. There are still some teams that are losing $60 million a year, which is more than the WNBA loses as a whole, one individual team. Yeah, there are profitable teams, obviously. It's the biggest business in the world. But as far as WNBA, you're going to have to invest in things to get that return on investment.
Well, and from what
anywhere from merch, and the merch is a big thing that I think that the league office sees, and that deals with Nike, that they're going to have to work out. But I think that if you put a product and you say, I want to give the money, put the money in to create, the fandom, to create, it's a slow build, and you're just going to have the patience of that. But showing women that, hey, you matter, they're gonna stay from overseas, and they're not gonna get as injured, and they're gonna be able to play at their peak performance. And then I feel like the public's going to, understand that. Same way with soccer. Soccer wasn't always as profitable, but you see the continued success of the U.S. women's national team, and you see that now they're the top sellers at Nike for their jerseys.
So you think that a lot of these women will stop playing overseas in the off season then because they'll be making enough money now?
I think that we have to see how the CBA rolls out to see if it's worth it. But, FIBA as of now and EuroLeague as of now pays more.
Right.
But I think that there's those incentives that if you're making $500,000, your top players are going to stay at home. They can do the community work. They can get out there and be within the community so that they can build that fan base.
Well, and I think
right now we're not interested in expansion, but the cities that do have it, they can have that cultivated fan experience.
Well, and I've seen a player like Kelsey Plum, who is in Los Angeles. She's very active on Instagram. She has a big following. It looks like she's got a lot of endorsement deals, so she's making some money off endorsements as well. But correct me if I'm wrong, the NBA actually owns the WNBA, and they have a giant TV deal. Is it possible that this money is coming from that TV money?
I don't want to speak on behalf of the WNBA where the money's coming from. We haven't really had a full transparent look at the CBA. We just received the press releases, obviously, and then heard on a conference call yesterday. But the NBA does make a conscious effort to support the WNBA, and we see that throughout the whole thing. But I think the WNBA is trying to position themselves in a place where they can stand alone. And it's going to be a long time coming because we're just getting into that era where we're believing in women. Do you know what I mean? So it's just
absolutely.
It's just a matter of trying to figure out where the money's going to come from. And I think personally that that's going to come from belief in merch and people buying that merch.
So, Arielle, I go back to the early 2000s. I had an opportunity actually to cover the Orlando Miracle back in the day, the Nikisha Sales, those teams back then. But I think about it from a franchise standpoint, right? In the WNBA, there's been a lot of fluctuation, not necessarily franchises folding, but franchises moving around a lot. Do we anticipate any more dealing with that on that standpoint? And also, you pointed out some of the details here. Obviously, we understand that players' salaries will go up, but what other aspects are we taking a look at as far as this deal that has gone down that is going to be beneficial as far as the WNBA players are concerned moving forward?
That's a good question, Chris.
As far as movement-wise, I see the franchises staying in place. We just saw a big move from the New York Liberty going to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, so I think that's going to be great for attendance in the overall community of Brooklyn. But as far as other things covered in the CBA, paid maternity leave. Things as little as that we didn't realize the players didn't have at first. That's huge. Just knowing you're valued as a woman who can give life and have a league that backs you, to have that paid maternity leave, huge. To have your own hotel room on the road.
Right.
Come on. That used to be a vet privilege. Now it's the standard, and I love that. And extra space on the plane. I think that goes without reason. Most of them are 6'4", 6'5". Come on.
Yeah, that's
true.
It's time to make those changes.
And Bill Lambier
so I think that the players are seeing that.
Yeah,
sure.
Bill Lambier came on our show and he said that was the big difference in traveling. As opposed to being an NBA player and WNBA coach. He specifically mentioned the plane. So $217,000 is the pay for the top players. Who, in your opinion, is going to get that pay? So, give me 5 players you think will get that pay.
Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, Liz Cambage, and just give me another vet, Sylvia Fowles.
Yeah, basically anybody who's a WNBA All-Star is going to be getting that kind of salary.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. 4, 5, 6 years down the road, if the WNBA is actually making a profit, we're going to look back at this and say, man, Arielle, that
great move.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. This was a fantastic move, and you're right. It's investing. They're investing in a product, and it paid off. But I have to ask you this question: if we're sitting here 5 years from now, and the WNBA is still losing $10 million a year, then what do you say?
Then I challenge people to just bet on women. It's just to the point where you see our culture and our society accepting the fact that women belong in the sports space. And once you get past the negativity and just actually pay attention to the product, that's when you generate numbers, you generate viewership. Hopefully we'll have a deal so we don't have to revisit this and be like, dang, we were wrong.
I understand that. For somebody like me, I am a basketball junkie, right? I love basketball. I have a basketball background. When I go to a WNBA game, I say to myself, well, first of all, and I'm talking about the positives, it's affordable. You can bring your family to a game and have a great time. I can only speak for Las Vegas, but the environment is fantastic. It's very positive. Kids are having a fantastic time. I don't necessarily, and this is just me, I don't necessarily go to a WNBA game to watch Liz Cambage try to dunk. I go to a WNBA game because, yeah, the product's okay. I would say the products, but it's the environment. It's kind of like when people go to a Major League Baseball game. Half the time people aren't even watching the game, and I'm not saying that fans that go to WNBA games aren't watching the game, but I'm saying a lot of people that go to Major League Baseball games, they say they go to the ballpark, to go for the environment. That's how I feel about the WNBA. Am I wrong in feeling that way?
You're not wrong. You're entitled to feel how you want to feel. But as far as you saying the product being okay, that's confusing to me because the majority of men who tell me that, or the majority of people who tell me that the product is just okay or is average basketball, just like dunk. So my response to that is like go to a dunk contest. My thing is like fundamentally, no, it's true.
I agree.
Fundamentally, the basketball is the top quality. These are Olympians. These are, world-class athletes that are playing the game at the highest skilled level. So to me, personally, the NBA is frantic to me. And that's just me speaking for, I used to be an NBA cheerleader, so I had to go to
what team? What team?
Games.
I want to know what team.
The Knicks.
The Knicks. Oh my God! Have you ever talked to James? Wait, have you ever talked to?
Watch him out.
Have you ever talked to James? Has James Dolan ever hit on you? Be honest.
No, oh my God, no. We weren't even allowed to go his way. Whatever he was doing, we had to go a different way. Anyway.
That's fair.
But to me, the quality of basketball is so high, but people are expecting dunks. Like when just the statement alone that you said Liz was I don't want to go to see Liz try to dunk. That's just not the basketball that they play.
Oh, no, I understand that.
Not, it's like an accessory to it. But the quality of basketball, like seeing 44 games a year in the NBA and then seeing 34 in the WNBA, because I do go to multiple teams.
Yep.
It's just like, to me, the quality, there's no difference of quality. The pace is different, which I prefer the WNBA, but it's all about preference. If you like the environment and you're there, you're present, I can't say anything to you about that.
I don't know about that.
But,
look, I'd have to push back a little bit on that as far as like the quality. You're saying that you think the quality of basketball, as far as like the quality of play in the WNBA is the same as the NBA?
There's definitely more ball movement.
If you're arguing environment, then I'm arguing you go to NBA for entertainment, like just simply entertainment, not the actual game of basketball. So if you want to have the environment because of like the slower pace and the lack of dunks, that's cool. Then I argue you just want entertainment. You don't want actual basketball for NBA.
No, I understand that. And listen, I totally, Arielle, I totally understand where you're coming from. The only thing that I would say, and listen, I'm not trying to bash WNBA players or female athletes. I would never do that. I'm just saying I don't think there's one men's college basketball team in the country that would lose to a WNBA team. And it's not their fault. I think it's a more physical game in the men's game. I'm not blaming anybody for that. And you're right. The games are a lot of fun to go to, and I support the Aces. I'm just saying from a standpoint of who would win, who's the better athlete, who's the better basketball player as a whole. It's not their fault, but I just think the men's game is just more physical. That's all I'm trying to say.
And I'm not trying to be
I wholeheartedly disagree.
And I'm not.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
I'm ready.
Because each practice team for the WNBA has a men's practice team, and most of them had to play D1 basketball. I'm not saying that they beat them every time, but
I didn't know that.
That's D1 basketball, though. That's not NBA.
Well, and Brian just said college. Yeah, so that's totally valid.
I'll tell you what, that is a game I would absolutely love to watch. I would be there for that. Arielle, I know you said you have to go. I wish we could. This is a great. Well, I wish you could stay longer.
Because we have so much we could address here. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: could we get you on the show again in a week or two? Because I think this is a great debate and it's fun. Obviously,
of course, I'll debate you anytime on the WNBA.
Listen. Obviously, you've been around the game your whole life, and you know what you're talking about. I think it's a great debate to have, and I think it's a fair debate, and I certainly respect your opinion. And I'm happy. Make no mistake about it. I'm very happy for these women that they're going to be taken care of. Regardless of what my opinion is on the actual product, I'm happy for them. And if the NBA wants to fork up the money to do it, I hope it's a great investment.
And Brian, let's be honest. A WNBA team in New York, if you're making $60,000 to $80,000 a year, you can barely live anywhere. I mean, the money just wasn't enough. There needed to be an increase in pay, and this was necessary.
Arielle, I know
I'm glad that they were able to have a compromise on that, and I'm just really happy to see where this goes, but I will be back next week. Mark my words.
I have
a lot to say about the W.
I would love to have you back on the show next week. I think this is a great debate, Arielle. We really do appreciate your time. You do a great job with the Bleacher Report, and thank you so much. We look forward to having you on again soon. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks a lot, Arielle.
There you go. That's Arielle Chambers with the Bleacher Report.
So much we could have got into there. We just didn't get an opportunity, time-wise.
Listen. I appreciate her perspective. I appreciate her opinions. I could not disagree with her more.
100%.
I am no authority when it comes to basketball, but let me tell you something, folks.
Yeah, you are, a little bit.
You can find the worst D1 college basketball team in the country. They would destroy the best WNBA team. First of all, we're using a men's basketball, not a women's basketball. We're using the men's rules. Okay.
But what if you use the women's basketball? What if you use the women's rules?
It doesn't matter. You're
Why?
getting into such a touchy spot here. If you're trying to compare women's basketball and men's basketball,
you can't just say
tough.
that. I mean,
It's ridiculous.
It's all about the
tough.
WNBA. You can't say that you have to use a men's basketball and you have to use men's rules.
Well, but
you
JD,
have to compromise there at some point.
But JD, she made a blanket statement
Now,
that
do you think that
JD, she made a blanket statement that the WNBA is on par with NBA basketball.
That's insane.
On a basketball level. I absolutely disagree with it.
She said on a basketball level.
That's what she said.
You're talking ball movement. You're talking
JD,
offense.
she made the statement.
She's just saying that the NBA to her is entertainment, which it kind of is, considering it's totally star power driven.
Okay, let me ask you.
Ryan, am I wrong in what she said?
And about 60% of the points are either 3-pointers or dunks.
JD, you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
You know
Am I
that.
wrong?
Hey, don't give me a backhanded compliment. You can do that to guests. You can't do that to me, bro.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, you're a stupid guy. Is that what you want me to say? Let me start out by saying this. You're telling me you find the worst NBA team, because that's what we're talking about here, and the best WNBA team, the spread would be 75 and a half.
I'm saying the point. I'm saying the style of play is totally different.
She wasn't talking about style play.
I'm not talking about style.
entertainment.
Who would win?
She's not talking.
JD, you heard what she said.
Brian, that's like taking candy from a baby.
JD.
Obviously, an NBA team would destroy a
That's
WNBA
what I'm talking
team.
about.
Okay,
JD.
But that's not what she was talking about, and because she
What
knows
was she talking about
Because she,
And what was she trying to say?
when she comes on next week, she's saying the brand of basketball is better because it's different. It's not entertainment based. It's not dunks.
She
It's
talked
actual
about
offense.
the quality
it's
of
actual,
basketball,
no, it's,
JD.
It's actual
The quality.
Just listen. Yeah, exactly. The quality.
The quality of
The
basketball.
quality. Yeah, that doesn't mean head to head women versus men.
So let me be clear on this one. Let me give my. Let me be
And
clear.
Brian, you didn't ask her that. And if you asked her that, she would say, obviously, the
Well,
NBA
I will
would win.
ask her next week.
Well,
We didn't
and
have time.
And she's not going to even answer
Okay,
the question.
she said it, and then I called her out.
Because
I
every
questioned her
single
on it.
person.
Okay, let me be clear.
Okay, the average NBA center is 7'1". The tallest player in WNBA is 6'8", and she's very slow of foot. The average NBA two guard is 6'8",
let me
and
be
has a
clear.
40-inch vertical. I mean, it wouldn't even be a conversation.
So-
and she knows that. She's just saying that the NBA to
All
her
right,
is
I
entertainment.
get your point.
So JD's making our case, but he.
No, I'm
he's
not.
trying to
I'm
point out
guys,
about
I'm just
style
saying
and
it's
stuff.
not even.
All right, guys, calm down.
You can't even have the conversation.
All right, so let me be very clear on this one. And I spoke to a few college basketball. In fact, even Marvin Menzies. That might be a bad person to ask, but I asked him. I said,
Remember that.
Don't you think Bishop Gorman would beat the Las Vegas Aces? He said, absolutely, it wouldn't be close. Now, here's why.
Now
Hold on.
Bishop
Let me
Gorman
finish.
has what, 5
Let me finish.
4 stars a year?
A good varsity boys basketball team would beat a WNBA team. Here's why. They are much faster. They're much stronger. The game is above the rim.
Yeah.
These women would not be able to compete underneath the basket.
And again, that's not the argument, Brian.
Well, that's the argument that I made.
That was JD. That was the argument that she made.
That was
she
not,
talked about the quality of play on the court.
That does not.
She was talking about the basketball
she was
on the court.
talking about the brand of basketball.
Why is it so hard to understand?
She was
not
talking. She was
Brian.
not. She was not saying that the Mercury would beat the Knicks. She was not saying that the Aces would beat the Lakers.
I just told
she was
you what
not
she
saying
said.
that,
All right, well,
Chris.
listen.
And we can play it back if you want to hear what she said, Black. She said the quality of play of basketball in the WNBA is the same as the NBA.
Hang on. Let me be clear on this.
That's what she said.
Okay, hang on. Let me be clear on this. I don't want to put words in her mouth. She's going to come back on her show.
You don't have to. You
but
can play
it is,
it back.
Hold on. It is my personal opinion that she was saying that the quality of basketball, and when you say quality, how good are you? Are you better? Are you the quality of the Golden State Warriors or the LA Lakers?
Yeah.
The difference in quality is the Lakers would destroy the Golden State Warriors right now because they have more talent. They're better. What I'm telling you is that the worst NBA team, I don't know who, Atlanta Hawks, for example, the Atlanta Hawks would destroy a WNBA team, women's or men's rules. It wouldn't be, the spread would be like 80 points. They would embarrass them. A really good high school boys varsity basketball team would beat most WNBA teams. You could not find me one Division I college basketball team, in my opinion, that would lose to any WNBA team. Now, if you want to say, well, the women have fantastic fundamentals, you know what? I've seen some 8th grade boys teams that have good fundamentals too. It doesn't mean they play better basketball. I respect her opinion wholeheartedly, and she covers the WNBA, and she does a great job. We just disagree on this, and I want to give her an opportunity to make her case when she has more time and when she comes on, hopefully next week. Listen, I'm happy for these women. I'm happy for the fact that these women who work really hard are going to make a lot more money. I'm happy for, but I'll tell you one thing. If you're a woman making $200,000-300 grand a year in the WNBA, and right before the season starts, you decide to have a kid, I'm going to tell you that's a little bit irresponsible, okay? When your job is to be out there on the floor for your team and you make a personal decision to have a child, I'm not so sure I agree with the WNBA. This is different. This isn't in the workplace like an office job or something else. This is a professional athlete. I don't know. I don't know if I want
to go anywhere near that.
Well,
but,
I am.
Back on this point about the quality of play in the WNBA. She also brought up as a reasoning was because of former Division I players going to practice and getting allegedly schooled by WNBA players.
She
like
said
Steven Zimmerman Jr. going to Aces games and apparently
Steven Zimmerman is not an NBA player.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
She
brought that up as a reason.
They don't always win those games.
Reason.
She said that I'm sure it's probably 60-40, but they're definitely competitive in those particular situations. And Brian, you said Bishop Gorman. That's like a top 5 high school basketball team.
Use any example, JD.
No, a WNBA team would beat a decent high school basketball
I disagree.
team.
No, I disagree.
No, I think they would.
How about the best team in Iowa, JD, out of Des Moines or something?
Yes.
The best high school boys team from Iowa playing against the Las Vegas Aces. Who wins the game?
Aces win.
I disagree completely.
Yeah. There's a thing in
I could not
basketball
disagree
called
with you
defense that you can play that the men have a significant advantage of in a situation like that.
17-year-old, 18-year-old kids against 22 to 26-year-old.
7-footers.
Something
going up against. You said it yourself. 6'8", highest player 6'8".
That's NBA. That's not
WNBA.
Iowa. Iowa, the state of Iowa, because you chose a bad state. The state of Iowa produces.
I'm choosing just a random state. I'm using it as an example.
No, but it produces about 2 to 3 Division I basketball players.
We're getting in the weeds, though. I mean,
and so you're
making a general point, right?
But you're trying to make a statement like they would beat anybody. That's not the case.
What's the general point?
I think that the best team in California would beat the Aces. I think the best team in New York would beat the Aces, but not Iowa.
Like I said, you're getting in the weeds. It's a general point that Brian was making.
She made the statement.
High school team, would beat
she made the
WNBA
statement
team.
that I said the worst D1 college basketball team.
It's a general point. Is
would
what you're making.
absolutely beat any WNBA team. We're talking 19, 22-year-old men who the physicality that these women would not be able to withstand that. I'm sorry.
Yes. And we're not talking about what state they're from, JD, or what college,
we'll put it this way.
High school. It doesn't matter. It's a general
Here's
point.
a familiar team. The Aces would beat Wyoming, in my opinion.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
Absolutely no.
You're
way.
entitled to your opinion. I
fine.
just think it's ridiculous.
That's fair.
I think that's insane. That's just my personal opinion, but I think that's crazy. But hey, then again, you said a week or two ago that you thought there was a chance Gerard Gallant would have been fired, and I called you crazy.
And I believe,
you're right.
and I believe,
And you're right.
I believe I'm a professional sports bettor as well. I believe I handicap games for a living. I'm pretty sure I do that.
All right,
I'm fairly certain that's what I do.
Well, that doesn't have anything to do with the WNBA and college or high school players playing against each other.
We have Bill Laimbeer coming up next, so we're going to maybe get into this discussion. The head coach of the Las Vegas Aces will be joining us next segment to talk a little bit about this. And I guess we could pose him that question. Obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is ask him about this situation, and I'm sure he's happy for his players in the league. We'll talk about that with the Las Vegas Aces head coach Bill Laimbeer. And then we will talk about the product. And I want to ask him these questions. I think he'll answer them honestly. Does he think a Division I men's basketball team would lose to a WNBA team? I think that's a very, very fair question to ask Bill Laimbeer. We'll ask him that and his thoughts on this coming up next. Of course, Bill Laimbeer, a legend for the Detroit Pistons, who not just a wonderful head basketball coach for the Las Vegas Aces, and he's won championships. Yeah. He's a great basketball coach, but also was an unbelievable player in the NBA. So what better person to ask that than Bill Laimbeer? So we'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. We got Bill Laimbeer, the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces, coming up next right here on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDOM.